It's all over. It is now.
Welcome to A View from the Stands podcast. This week's episode includes another guest. We've got Max Hayes on the pod. Hopefully this is something you enjoy, and if you do, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Spotify. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy.
Welcome back to another episode of A View from the Stands. In a week where we're one more week closer to Premier League football, we've had lots of friendlies going on, and everyone's getting upset about statues being chucked in the water. We're back here to be talking about football again. So, how's everything going, lads?
Good,
It's good, thank you. Good, yeah.
It's good, yeah. Weather's terrible, but
Yeah, not the best weather today. It's a bit doom and gloom after. We've had a few weeks of sun, so no more Tom sitting in the garden anymore, I believe.
those days
No more birds.
Strictly indoor podcast from now on.
I remember those days.
Back when we used to get sun.
Yeah.
But now it's all doom and gloom. Where should we start? I mean, obviously, like I said, a week where teams have started playing friendlies again, and like I predicted last week, everyone's losing their mind about friendly results and trying to work out what this means for the season. So I believe we have an intercontinental View from the Stands rivalry this week in the friendly world. Harv, do you want to take it from here on that one?
Or does Conal want to take it from here? Conal? Do you want to speak?
What? No, I'm all right. You go.
I think it was Nottingham Forest versus Wolves at the Molineux, and it ended Nottingham Forest 2, Wolves 0. And that's happened before, isn't it, Conal?
Potentially, yes.
To be fair, John Bostock's goal was an absolute banger. If you've seen it, it's on Twitter, on his Twitter account. It was an absolute banger.
I heard though.
And we scored a penalty as well.
There was no referees or linesmen, so
yeah, we know about this already. We spoke about this before.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they had a penalty, to be honest. But,
to be fair, mate,
probably just said, "Oh, it was a penalty," and gave it them.
I'm not surprised that we won that because we used to not having officials or anything for us. It's fine. I might have seen that on Twitter.
I saw you tweeting while Sammy Amiobi getting a new contract, and
My hero.
It was like Messi signing a 5-year deal,
and it bloody is. You're right.
I'm not sure about that.
He is excellent. He's taken us up. Sammy's taken us up. He's an excellent drawer.
It's all right until you're in the Premier League, and then you're like trying to find a buyer for him because you have to take the step up.
Yeah, it's
all fun and games until that.
He's great when winning, but when we're losing, he's just horrendous to watch. He's much more of
He'd be a good player.
What?
He'd be a good player if he didn't wear Krusty the Clown's shoes.
His legs are up here. Was that sweatpants then? Bloody hell.
God.
But yeah, no, he is actually more pivotal than I thought he'd be for us on a free. So I'm happy
for those of you who are Nottingham Forest fans, our guest today will have a lot more Nottingham Forest chat coming up later. So just to tease that in. Obviously, again, who else's teams have had friendlies this week? Villa.
Yeah, we played Leicester yesterday, 2 matches. What I've read, we won at the KP and then lost at Villa Park. So clearly this home advantage thing has gone out the window.
Yeah.
Blimey.
Wait, what do you know about lineups then? Because what I was wondering is because there's rumours United are meant to be playing West Brom tomorrow, maybe in 2 different games. What are teams doing then? Are you finding from lineups that you lot have read about your clubs? Are they trying to stick with the lineup that will play in the league and then playing fringe players in their lineup, or is it a mix?
I think it's just an absolute mix, just for fitness, isn't it? Like I think Wolves put out quite a weekend side with like 23s, and that. I think we had a few out like that as well. So I think just getting the minutes in for the players, really, isn't it?
I think there's like three lots of 30 minutes. I think the game's split up into. I know that's what it was when we played West Brom the other day. 3 lots of 30 minutes and not just rotating sort of subs and things like that just to get minutes in.
Yeah. You were meant to play Jordan, you were meant to play Stoke, weren't you, on the Friday? But
yesterday actually, they turned up at the training ground.
Coronavirus, didn't he?
They'd apparently got off the coach, walked into the training ground, they actually had to go straight to the place where they get tested. So luckily they'd made no contact. Because this is the thing, right? Obviously, I think we're now in a position where we can safely restart football. But something like that happens. What happens with the season then? If United, so Michael O'Neill had gone, and the whole United team had got coronavirus. What happens then?
Yeah.
So you've got a 19-team league then, because they ain't been playing for 2 weeks. So what happens then? Like, effectively, if one team gets it, that could be the end of it anyway. Like, because then they'd be playing real catch up, wouldn't they?
It's so hard to make sure like no one gets it, because once a team has it, then it just stops the league again, because some teams are missing out, and I don't know how it's going to work if that does happen and what the situation will be. But I'm sure that will be a situation in one of the leagues in England.
Did you see in the MLS that they're having a 54-game tournament at Disneyland?
Trip to Disneyland?
Yeah.
Really?
That's going to be so
quality.
I should know. A week-long just games at Disneyland, then go on the rides and everything.
Yeah, you get a free pass.
God, I love that. One thing I have thought about, in another sort of tangent with the season starting next week, is the return of fantasy football.
Oh God!
Yes.
Which is a game changer
because
slowly slides down the chair.
They've announced that it's unlimited transfers, isn't it?
Get your money ready, boys.
Next week.
Gonna be paying me.
It's fresh start now, isn't it?
Alex is bottom, isn't he?
Bottom?
Cruise control is bottom.
He was at the start. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm cruising out in front," and now he's like at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to you, mate. I don't know what happened to you, but you blew it.
Jesus, did that cut deep, Alex?
It did, yeah. Bloody hell. I might have to leave this call now. Because I'm not, going to all the training grounds, seeing who's injured, seeing who's got like a little cold or anything. I just take it as it comes.
Don't think he'd be allowed in, to be honest.
To be honest with you, I don't think anyone will have a full side where each player will play 90 minutes, will they? Because of the 5 subs and all that. I think
it's going to be a nightmare, isn't it?
Very tough. Very tough.
Squad rotation's going to have everyone. Squad rotation's bad anyway when it's double game weeks, but most of the game weeks are double game weeks. So basically, you're going to put players in who are going to play once every 2 games. It's going to be a nightmare. I can't wait for it, actually. I can already feel
the stress on me right now. I'm trying to sort.
You've got to stay tuned into this podcast to see what's going to happen for the rest of our fantasy league season.
This isn't doing your headache any good, is it, Harv?
No, I've already got a hangover from last night. Pub quiz absolutely did me, because in our one we have to do a shot every time if you lose the round, and unfortunately I was with my mate, and I probably just let him down. I'd say it's mostly my fault, and we did finish last in pretty much every round, and we finished last altogether. So. Got the slow gin out, and I feel physically sick now.
It's poor,
but no, it's all right. It has to be done, doesn't it?
I think you're the first person to turn up for a Zoom podcast hungover, but not the first one to turn up to a view from the stands hungover.
Well, I was meant to be in Zante this week anyway. So I thought, you know what, I'll enjoy myself. Here's what it is.
How the years changed.
You've been walking around your house in your swim shorts and shades on.
Sun
looking
cream.
at the weather right now as it's absolutely pissing down. No, I haven't. Also, another thing to do with football, obviously, as a footballing podcast. League 1 and League 2.
I was about to say
that's got
yes,
decided,
of course. Yeah.
Up the Pompey. Get the flames going.
I've got flipping Coventry City fans now trying to make a rivalry with Villa.
God, I did see that. Yeah,
it's embarrassing.
And I saw that video of Callum O'Hare. Is that the Villa player with the old wig on? Yeah, that was quite funny. A bit tragic.
Pump it up,
quite funny.
They did that
on his show.
They did that song for on Plymouth's Twitter. They did like Argyle, we got something to tell you, and then they'd play Pump It Up behind, and then it just showed all like clips. It was actually good. I'm glad they were.
Glad you enjoyed it.
No, my cousins live there, so I quite like.
Oh,
them.
nice.
And I've got a career mode on FIFA 20 with them, and I got them to League 1. So I predicted it already.
Wow. League 1. You still done pumping.
Champions League, yeah.
Yeah, mate.
We'll see.
Bread and butter stuff, that. See, we got Swindon as well.
Yeah, Swindon went up, obviously,
week.
from last week's guest. Yeah, we spoke a lot about Swindon, obviously, and yeah,
brilliant.
They went up as champions, and yeah, I think they won the joint most games in the Football League this season. So obviously, well deserved. I think points per game was probably the fairest way to go, wasn't it?
Yeah, Wycombe went flying up, didn't they? And Peterborough got pushed out in the playoffs. So
not sure, but I'm not sure I like that.
What happened to Ipswich?
Ipswich finished 11th. That's the lowest since 1953 or something they've ever finished.
Jeez.
11th in League One. Jesus, absolute downfall.
Are playoffs like going ahead on?
Yeah, playoffs.
Yeah.
All right.
Pompey have got Oxford, I know that, and then it must be Wycombe versus
Fleetwood, I think.
Yeah, Fleetwood. That's the one. I don't know about League Two, but
I wrote about it on my
Whelan
website.
plays for Fleetwood.
Yeah, I remember we went to get Glenn Whelan once. Well, when he was just before we went to Fleetwood, I thought, oh my god. No, not Glenn Whelan. Sorry, not Glenn Whelan. Dean Marnie. Dean Marnie it was. I don't know if he still plays for him now.
All right.
That was a weird one. He's about 35 now.
Did you guys see that? I know it's this for the Europa League, but I don't know about the Champions League. Apparently, they're doing one leg now for each tie. You know, like
I've
going
not even
forward
heard.
in the. Yeah,
I've not even heard
apparently
anything about
Europa
it.
League. Apparently Europa League. It starts again in August. Apparently European ones.
Blimey.
Yeah, I know,
August.
and they're doing. They
get a holiday or not?
Well, exactly. The season. I don't think the season's going to start till October. You know.
Yeah, it's gonna
late September, October. If you're talking the Champions League's getting resumed in August, they ain't
well,
gonna
the Liga are thinking because they start this weekend, don't they? They're thinking of resuming the next season's going to start on September the 1st. They think.
Yes,
but it's
hard.
a bit if they're in Europe and all that, it's a tough situation.
I think they'll do the Liverpool Atletico Madrid game again because technically that was.
No.
Come on.
Did you actually hear what their manager said? They should actually if they cancelled it, they should get the Champions League because they beat the champions.
Fair play. Respect.
Sounds fair.
That was a great.
That was the fairest way to do it.
That was a great night. As soon as the game finished, you ripped your Xbox, your PlayStation away, took the TV and pissed off, didn't you, into your room?
Honestly, it's like a stroppy teenager, weren't you?
God, that's what we have to live with.
You know.
No, yeah, I'd be the same. I don't know about that. Don't know if I've ripped my TV away and all that sort of stuff. You know, I'd probably watch it in grace.
And another league I want to actually give attention to, and I can't remember off the top of my head if it's Bundesliga 3 or 4. Did you guys see about this? They had like league table. It's a 20-team league or something, and there's about 3 points separating first and about 10th. And they're resuming playing,
Jesus.
So that would be an entertaining
Tasty,
one. I think like 10th place were on like 45 points, and then first place is on 48 points, and they've all played the same amount of games or something.
Bloody hell!
Blimey, that will be. Can
you imagine that? Can you imagine if they called off that league? No, I reckon. Yeah, I think that's a place you can be deep, like diving pretty deep to get a stream for that. Bundesliga 4, jeez.
And you class it as bottling it if you go from 2nd to 9th.
Massive.
Someone said like, "Oh, can you imagine the absolute joy of being one of these fans? You're in a relegation fight one week, and then you're challenging for the title the next week." Be brutal. Yeah, I think that's one you'd have to go pretty fast to get a stream for that. It's like I think it's the league they have like Bayern Munich 2 in it, which I didn't even realise existed. To be honest, I didn't realise they had second teams like Spain do, but. Apparently they do.
Yeah. No, I never hear about them.
No, which is obviously something they were talking about doing in this country, weren't they? Introducing second teams into lower leagues, which we know how well that would have gone down.
Just wouldn't happen with it. Be too much up for debate and all that sort of stuff. It just would end in tears. So probably best they leave that.
The support your local lads would have been not happy on Twitter after that one, would they? Man United seconds versus Grimsby. I don't think it would have got much traction, to be honest.
Yeah, where would Man United seconds play? Because it must be training ground or something.
It's got to be
training ground. You've got to have seats, haven't you? You've got to have seats.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to get involved.
This is it's always something that comes back up again. So maybe it's something that we come back up and again in the future. We'll find ourselves talking about. But I suppose we're about time to introduce this week's guest.
Yes.
So today's guest is we're joined by Max today. Max, how's it going, mate?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Do you want to just describe to the viewers what sort of your role is in football and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Max. I run Matchday with Max on YouTube, a Forest fan channel. Harv will know me very well. I'm sure he's a weekly viewer. I started basically doing kind of YouTube videos, interviewing Forest fans since quite an early age. And then like the last few years, it's took off quite well. And I now work with Mitre doing the FA Cup. Of course, obviously that's all been postponed due to COVID-19. And I'm working for the BBC now as well on a new kids football channel. So so you mainly really see me in front of the camera for football, but I'm obviously a Forest fan as well, so I always attend Forest games, sometimes filming, sometimes I have weeks off, so it's nice just to go as a normal fan as well.
So just quickly then, obviously you mentioned that, how different is it going as a fan and then filming? What sort of does your typical match day consist of when you're filming?
Yeah, so filming's quite, so it's quite an early start. So I normally get to the city round about, for a 3 o'clock kickoff normally, probably about 11, 11:30.
God, that's the time I get to spoons.
Well, exactly. It's quite an early start. Just kind of, I've gone going to the press room and everything, pick up everything, go to the pitch sometimes, do what I need to do there, and then what I try and do before is I'll try and organise interviews throughout. So the video's all planned. So it means that I'm not kind of going and asking randomers, although I sometimes do, but I don't want to keep going asking people. So normally I'll plan interviews. I have quite a good, because I've been doing it for quite a few years now, I've known a lot of people. So that means that I can get quite a good collection of people that are willing to come on. I'm very grateful to them. And then I can kind of schedule them in each week for the Forest game. So people often think that I might just go up straight away. Sometimes that's the case, and especially for away fans. But normally, most of the time, it's kind of scheduled and all planned. So I try and stick to timings. So I try and do that most of the time. But it's different when you're filming. It definitely is. And from a fan, because I only started probably about the age of 11 or 12 doing YouTube and stuff for Forest. So it's really different, but it's still enjoyable. And I still, I get to see the behind the scenes. So it's quite good with the fact that you can speak to the players before the game, and you can go and speak to the likes of BBC Radio Nottingham and Sky when they're there. So that's really good. So there's positives and negatives.
That is mental. Like the fact that you've literally got it all there for you, Max. You're literally players. What's some of the best players you've met and interviewed?
Well, see, the thing is with interviews is to interview a player at Forest and interview a player really at any football club is you have to, of course, there's a lot of planning involved with it. You can't literally I can't approach a player on a match day and ask him for an interview. Unfortunately, that's not allowed. As much as I'd like to do, I have to respect the club. So it's normally planned out with the media officer and everything like that. With a football club, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that. I've interviewed a player; it's quite different, and the same with a manager as well. So the best players I've probably interviewed, Harv, I'd probably put the Jason Cummins one in the top.
That was a good one.
So that was when I was with
Forest, wasn't it? That was good.
So that was with Forest. So I did Jason when I was quite a young lad, and it's interesting because I did because Mark Warburton was the Forest manager at the time, and I did Mark Warburton about 2 months after Jason Cummins, because I met Mark on the day I interviewed Jason down at the Forest Training Academy, the Nigel Doughty Training Academy, and basically what happened was the Jason Cummins one. Some of the filming we did actually wasn't included, which was a shame, which was dead funny. Like I think I put it in a best bits video at the end of the season. So he does his famous wrestling move. So he picked me up and he threw me on the ground. But Forest didn't include that in the official video, which is a shame. So I'd probably say that, and it's different because Jason treated it as like not a proper interview in a way. He still answered the questions, but as a bit of more of a laugh. Whereas Mark Warburton treated it like a professional, typical manager replies, and that's fine. And Mark and I met when Mark Warburton was Forest manager. Frank McParland was director of football. I had a great relationship with Frank McParland, and it was really sad, really, to see them go. Not for the football side sometimes, but maybe just for the personal side of having a connection with them. But Mark was really good, but he just took it much more seriously. So I'd probably have to say Jason Cummings. Yeah, Harvey.
I do think the two characters of Mark Warburton and Jason Cummings are a lot different now, aren't they? So you're probably expecting that.
Oh yeah, God, yeah.
Jason
definitely.
Cummings, wow.
Yeah,
Alex, go on, Max.
No, go on.
Alex, I was going to say about Jason Cummings and Liverpool. What happened this season with him? Cumdog came on, didn't he? Punished you.
All I know is we won the second leg. That's all I know.
Oh, congratulations! You beat what, League Two club?
I was there at Shrewsbury, Liverpool. I was covering it for Mitre with the FA Cup. So yeah, that was so I was in the Shrewsbury end, but it's dead funny because I went with my dad and my brother, and my brother, it's normally sometimes my dad that helps me film, but my brother does as well sometimes. And my brother was just loving it. He was like cheering on Shrewsbury. He was going mad for it.
Got to get into it, haven't you?
Well, exactly. So that was a brilliant game.
Yeah, I bet.
Probably not for you, Alex. Obviously, if you're a Liverpool fan. But for Shrewsbury, yeah, it was a class game. It was brilliant how Jason Cummings just came on. He just turned the game around.
Yeah, mad.
Honestly. It was crazy.
Talking about
go
on, Alex. Sorry, mate.
Oh, I was just going to say, because you kind of have a career that most people in like the maybe late 20s would, they don't even have it at the moment. So how did you properly get started, like from like the first video you ever made or so?
Yeah, that's a question it's a really good question, and I get asked that a lot. And a lot of people, funny enough, the question I get asked a lot is, do you think you've started too early? Which you might think is probably a weird question, but it can be seen as that, because so I started making YouTube videos, I think it was in 2015 time. I think it was around that time. I can't remember the exact date, of course. And I did my first few videos. So what inspired me to kind of get into the media industry and want to do media and do interviews was I was just going to a Forest game once as a normal fan. It was when it was Forest. When we had all the Fawaz out stuff.
Oh yeah,
all the protests that day. And I think this
what
is
a time to start. What a time to start.
Well, exactly. So this is what inspired me. An East Midlands TV reporter, so BBC East Midlands Today, a reporter came down to the City grounds, and they were going around asking Forest fans for just the views to get on their and I was speaking to them, and they asked me, and she was like, "Oh, you're really good, you are. You should. Do you want to get into it?" And I've never thought of it, if I'm honest. I actually wanted to do something completely different up until this point, and it really inspired me after going on the TV to try and do it more. So I spoke to so the person that interviewed me was a woman who works for East Midlands Today, who still works there now, called Angela Rafferty, who's really funny because she interviewed me the other month when I think it was the other year when all this all my YouTube had kind of got out there. So it was quite funny. She interviewed me as a normal fan, nothing to do with YouTube, and then a year down the line, she interviewed me and did a piece on me with Forest. So I basically started at quite an early age, did YouTube videos. It kind of went from there, and then I think my main break came was when Forest said they wanted to do some stuff like officially, and did a few interviews with them. And then Colin Murray, I tweeted one of my videos to him, and Colin invited me down to the Channel 5 studio. That went really well. I still speak to Colin now. He's probably one of the best people to have on your phone.
What a guy.
I mean, Colin Murray is probably the best person to have in your phone book right now. In fact, I only spoke to him the other week. He asked me something about Forest. So, you're
the source, are you? In the know. Tell Colin. Colin, we're going up this season, mate.
So Colin's a really, really nice guy, and has helped me out massively. Helped me with a lot of not loads, but a lot of challenges I faced and needed to overcome it. He helped me, and that's really grateful. So, to answer your question, Alex, about obviously people aged 20 would be thinking that I've done more than them, or I'm in the career that they want to get into. is I just think it's because I've started early, and it's really weird because I was supposed to be doing my GCSEs this year, and of course they're off. So I'm looking at like colleges next year, and it's almost as if. So I'm obviously going to go and do a journalism course at college. You know, I could do A levels, but I don't really want to sit through exams for the next 2 years. So I'd rather go and do a college
Not
course.
worth it.
So you know, it's interesting when. I went for a college interview. It was an on the phone college interview, and they were like, "So, what experience do you have?" And it cracked me up because I had to obviously explain to them.
Yeah.
And the bloke was like, "Oh, that's brilliant." So, you know, I could be seen as started way too early, but at the same time, I don't think it's done a lot of harm really, and it's probably been worth it to get to where I am now.
I remember. Sorry, go on.
I was saying, what do your mates think about it at school when you go back?
So when I first started, so I was at where I live, we have a middle school system, so I was at a middle school. So you know, they kind of, when I first started, it was only my close friends that knew that I did it, but of course people found out from putting it on social media. When I got to high school, so obviously as a new year 9, because of the middle school system, it was quite funny because like on the transition days, there was all the other schools. So like from the middle schools, we have 3 middle schools that merge into a high school. So I came from one, and then the other 2, there was everyone like, oh, it's Matchday with Max and all that. So it's quite funny.
Yeah.
And it's funny when I was in. So I was in year 11. So when I was walking down the corridor, there was a month that a year 9 just walked past me and went, "Well, Matchday with Max, come on, you Reds," and it just
come on, you Reds.
Well, exactly. And all my mates think it's quite funny. So a lot of my mates, to be fair, at the start were like, "Why are you doing that? Oh, it's dead cringy." But you know, a lot of them now are really supportive and think it's brilliant. So you know, but I do think it's quite funny when you walk past somebody at school, or even past a Forest game, and somebody says that in the concourse or whatever. I just find that fantastic, actually.
So yeah, at the start of you creating this YouTube channel, and that there was actually a few comments. I remember me personally, I was very jealous at the time, Max. I won't lie, and I was like, and there was a few, weren't there? I remember when you got the Forest on the Forest account, there were a few comments which were
definitely
very nice. But looking back at it now, on my behalf as well, I just think, like, what an idiot I was. Like, to think, like, it's pure jealousy, mate. Honestly, pure jealousy.
Yeah, well, and I think that people, I mean, because social media is such a weird place, and I can remember when I was on YouTube, I only created like Twitter and things, and I absolutely hate Twitter. I detest it now. I can't stand Twitter, but I'm still on it just because, really, to promote my videos and things like that, and you know, because it is quite nice to scroll through, you know, sometimes and just see the Forest Twitter timeline going. Sometimes going to meltdown. So social media is a weird place, and I was introduced to it, obviously, at a very young age. And I think that obviously it was weird because when people used to put sometimes comments on, and if I'm honest, it's actually got better as I've got older.
I think you've got a lot of love now. Actually, I think a lot of people like respect what you're doing and really enjoy your content.
There's still some of the odd Forest fans that have even spoke to me at games saying they don't like what I do, and you know,
oh god,
about that. And obviously, I respect that. But some people, of course, on, you know, when I first started, if I'm honest, I think the Forest fan base was split over me completely.
Yeah.
But like I say, I think it's got better as I've got older. I think it's weird because when somebody goes and puts something on Twitter for you that you've never had before, which was not a nasty comment in a way, but just like you said, Harvey, just a bit of a jealous comment or whatever.
Tongue in cheek sort of
thing,
sometimes.
Yeah. And I can remember when somebody went to me, someone from my family went, "Oh, you know, that's awful," and they felt dead bad and they wanted to do something about it, but I was like, no, honestly, it's fine. And from a young age, I've just kind of dealt.
It's probably helped you out with anything, getting these comments which have just build the strength that you need to do it
exactly.
in this industry.
And I mean, it's strange, and you get the odd one, and of course there's I think I can remember watching a video that you did on it, boys, and you were on about football vloggers, and of course, you know, it's a controversial topic. It really is. There's of course, you know, 2 or 3 other Forest vloggers as well as me. So you know. And it's the same with other clubs as well. So some people hate it, some people like it, some people don't. So some people don't really care. So, you know, at the end of the day, I always think to myself that don't let one negative comment on Twitter, take over the 5 nice messages you've had on a YouTube video today, or 5 nice tweets, or, for example, a little lad coming up to you at a Forest game, like asking for a photo or asking for an interview, which is really nice. So I always try to think of it as that way. But anybody that wants to, especially I think, get into the media industry is open to criticism 100%. And you've got to deal with it. And if you can't deal with it, then, it's going to be really difficult for you.
Max, you mentioned other like vloggers, like for Forest and stuff. So how do you find that relationship with other people who are creating content about the same thing? Is it a competitive sort of thing? 'Cause obviously a lot of people now will want to make Forest are a big club, so a lot of people will be wanting to make content about it. Do you find that like sort of like the market for it? Do you find it competitive with other people trying to do things that are unique and everything?
Yeah, I think it is a competitive industry. And so for me, because a lot of people will say, call me a vlogger, but I'm not really a vlogger. I don't film the game, you see. And Harvey's mentioned that before as well on another video I was listening to. I don't do that at all. So it is a competitive industry. I think it's got worse over the last few years, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I always see these videos of ranking football YouTubers, which I just don't get. I just don't get of why people will do them. And it's their content. They can do what they want on YouTube. It's a platform where they can upload pretty much anything they want and what content they want. But I would never, ever, because I'm not in any position, and there's a lot of other people that aren't in any position to really rank football YouTubers in any way. And totally for me, I would just find no, because my YouTube channel has never been about getting views and subscribers. It's actually really about building kind of a CV for me. So that's what got me working with Mitre. That's what got me winning awards. That's what got me with the BBC, because of that YouTube channel. So I think sometimes, because football vloggers do earn sometimes a living out of it, half of them do, or even most of them, that it can get competitive sometimes, and that's when the content can get clickbaity in a way. And I've never ever once clickbaited a video ever, and I don't really like people who do it. But again, it's their content; they can do what they want with it. So it is a competitive industry massively. But like I say, I just think that sometimes these football vloggers and YouTubers need to think, well, hang on a minute. You should enjoy what you do and not really do it for the views sometimes, and not do it to clickbait it. You should do it to enjoy it at the end of the day. And when it gets to a point with Forest, and it will probably happen, next season or in the next few seasons, where, I won't have the time or anything. So when I get, for example, if I, 1 week, I just don't feel like doing a video, I won't do a video. So, and if it gets to the point, and a lot of people have said this to me, and a lot of other football YouTubers have said, if it gets to a point where it doesn't become enjoyable anymore, then that's where they'll stop. And I completely agree with that, because if it gets too much and you just want to go as a fan, then go as a fan. You don't have to take your camera all the time. And that's why I have sometimes just days off of going to an away game or going to Forest games as just purely a fan. And most of the time, sometimes, if you go to a Forest game, I think there was one instance when Forest lost 4-0 to Preston on a Tuesday night once. It was an awful night, and it was a dreadful video I made. And I just made the decision. I was like, do you know what? I can't even be bothered to upload it. And I didn't upload it. And people will say, yeah, but you should still upload it when Forest lost. But it wasn't a good video. It would have got 500 views, even though the views don't matter. And it just, would it have been worth putting it out there? Not really. Would have people watched it and enjoyed it? Probably not. So it's all about giving my YouTube channel as well an audience for people to enjoy. I really like comments that I get from people saying, I live in Australia and I can't make the Forest games, so it's great to watch your video because it tells us what's going on around the club, or it gives us, it tells us what's going to happen, which is brilliant. And that's ultimately what you kind of do it for at the end of the day.
Does
sort of a follow-up. Sorry, Conor, you go.
I was going to say, does making content affect your enjoyment of the game, as you were talking about, interviewing players and stuff? Can you see the other side of the players, and then you obviously get the game, and then does it affect how you see the game?
It's different in a way, because when somebody asks you who's your favourite Forest player, as a fan, you would normally probably just say who do you think's the best, or who do you just like generally? For me, whenever anyone asks me who my favourite Forest player is, I think about who I actually, like meeting. I mean, the whole of the Forest squad. I haven't met all of them, but all of them that I've met have been absolutely brilliant with me. They're really nice. I met. I did some of the YL, which is the Nottingham Grassroots League. I presented some stuff there the other month before all this happened, and Jordan Smith was there giving out the awards, and Jordan got a lot of stick at his time as Forest keeper. And Jordan, if I'm honest, was one of the nicest people I've ever met. So supportive, just having a general down-to-earth chat with him when I wasn't interviewing him. But it's quite funny because I had to interview him. So every hour they had a different team in for the presentation at the Royal Console. So I had to interview him every hour. So I had to ask him different questions. So I had to tell him, if I asked you the same question, don't say, you asked me that last time, because it's completely different people. So just answer the same one. So it's quite funny that. So, but going back to your question about does content make you not enjoy the game, or does it affect your experience? I think in a way it can, but ultimately, I actually quite like after a game getting the microphone out and in a away end with, for example, Forest West Brom, when the noise was, we were quite high up as well. So normal tickets we were in with the the hard lads at Forest, and
is
had
that
all
you,
the
Harv?
noise behind me.
I'm joking.
It's you, Harv. But it was quite good to have, to do a full-time outro with a microphone, with the noise in the background. I quite enjoy doing it. Of course, during the Forest game, I have a notepad and pen. I don't really do it at away games. If I'm at a home game, I'll just make a few notes just to jog the memory when I'm looking back. But ultimately, I don't really talk that much on camera. I normally ask the questions, do an intro and outro, and let other people speak. Because I think, from what I've learned and people who have told me in the industry, is that a good interview is from somebody that will ask you the questions, let you answer them, and not shout over you. So that's what I try and do. I always try and let the person have, answer the questions as much as they can without me jumping in, because my opinion really isn't what Matchday With Max is about. It's more about other people's opinions and the fans' opinions.
Sorry, I was going to ask you before. Sorry, lads. I was just going to ask you.
I know, yeah.
Sort of what other football content people that you watch or you enjoy, or who do you feel in that sort of sphere on YouTube puts out the best football content in your opinion, and what that looks like?
We're going to get you to start ranking them in a minute.
No rankings.
I'm going to have to put me in the top tier, aren't I? No, I see, from a young age, who I'm really good mates with now. So from a young age, I watched Thogden a lot. That you don't know if you've ever heard of him. Thogden and his dog dad, who's come on the rise recently. And they're really good on camera, and they're really good in person. They're two of the nicest people you will ever meet. To be fair, Thogden, Theo, his name is. I don't know why. I always call him Thogden. His name's Theo. So Theo came with me to a few Forest games before. We were on about doing some stuff. We've done some content together, and I've met him at the awards loads, and been out with him for bits and pieces. So he's a really, really nice guy. So I'd probably say him. His content, there's the other Bolton vlogger, Stump Peg. She's brilliant. So she's just great, and it's brilliant that she can get her views across as a woman in football, and that's really important. I think there's quite a lot of other, there's a lot of people I really enjoy watching. For example, there's a young Stoke lad who I can remember I met at the EFL on Quest launch day, who was literally the same. He started his YouTube channel literally the same age as I did, and he actually reminds me of when I was slightly younger, when I started a YouTube channel. And he has a microphone, and he got me access on because he works with Stoke, and he got me access on the Stoke pitch. And his videos, I think he's 10 or 11. If his dad's watching this, he'll probably correct me wrong. But I think he's 11, and his professionalism on camera and the way he speaks and his football knowledge is twice as better as mine, and even some people in the industry already. He's absolutely brilliant. So, there's a lot of people that don't get recognised a lot. So, but I'd probably say people like Theo, Neve, and Sam Cam, his name is, the young Stoke lad as well.
Brilliant.
I was gonna say, because do you think it's important to develop a good relationship with the club? Because like with Arsenal Fan TV, they don't. It seems to be a divide. Like the club, they don't seem to like each other. But do you sometimes avoid criticising the club to keep a relationship, or is it kind of you can be as objective as you want?
Yeah, I can't go on a video and rip into them.
Yeah.
I can't say really what sometimes up here is thinking as a fan. I always try to be as positive as possible, and sometimes people will say that's the wrong approach. And sometimes you should let the fans say what they want, or you should say what you feel on camera. And there's a lot of channels that do that out there, or shout into the camera, and I've never done that. So yeah, I think I've always tried to keep a good relationship with Forest, and still do player interviews. I was supposed to be interviewing a special somebody before all this happened, Sabri Lamucci. So I was supposed to be interviewing him, which would have been brilliant.
Excellent.
Really, he's only done we were going to do a bit more of a light-hearted interview. I think we were going to try and do something, a bit different and everything like that. So no, I always try to keep a good relationship with the club, and that's important in my opinion. Keep a good relationship with them. It opens up other opportunities because, realistically, is it worth on a Tuesday night when you've lost 4-0 to Preston to shout into the camera having a go at the club, when you could probably just give your opinion and say, yeah, we were awful, but we maybe be a bit positive, put it out there, and then everything's happy. So, and all the relationship stays happy. But, there's Forest have also been very good with me because, I suppose they've never had a problem with me at all making videos around the ground. They never do really with anybody else. And I just think that I probably, even if I didn't work with Forest, I still would be positive on camera. I still wouldn't rip into the club because I've never been that person. I've never been somebody that walks out after a game saying we need to sack a manager straight away, or goes mad, or goes on Twitter and demands that the fans get their money back. And I just don't think that's the right way, but that's just my opinion. So no, I've always tried to keep a healthy relationship with Forest, definitely.
Just Matt,
talking about Forest.
Go on, Tom.
So, are they going up? That's what I want to ask you.
Well, it's again another good question. See, it's difficult. If we were playing and all this hadn't happened and we weren't playing behind closed doors, I'd say yes because I was going. But I'm a bit split in between it. I'm looking forward to it return, but I just don't want to see Forest get promoted from my living room. And I don't know how you feel about that, Harvey.
Exactly the same. This could be as well. If we go playoffs and we get to play a final, this will be the first time we've been to Wembley in the 13 years it's been open, the new one. Yeah. And we won't be able to be there.
Well, exactly. And I think that...
You might be able to, but talk me into why you're there.
No, probably not. I think that, you're right. I put on Twitter the other day, one of my dreams as in my life and as a Forest fan is to go and see Forest at Wembley. And if we miss out on that opportunity, then it's going to be, really upsetting. But the club are going to give it everything they've got. And I'm pretty sure that they get the players and everything. And, we beat Wolves in a pre-season kind of pre-season. Friendly.
I can bring that up, didn't we?
So we beat them in a friendly, and I think we're putting every kind of effort into it, and it's probably the best chance we've ever had. So why not? Let's just go for it. If we go up, we go up. If we don't, we don't. I'm not going to feel too disheartened if we go on losing the playoffs because I probably won't be there. I'm not going to feel too disheartened if we miss out on the playoffs because it's a really hard schedule, and we go again next year. That's really all that matters.
So Max, who is your favourite Forest player at the minute? In terms of anything you want, whether the player ability or who's your favourite?
I'd probably have to say.
I see Joe Worrell's a big fan of you.
Yeah, I'm really. Joe Worrell is another really nice person you'll meet in football. Joe is very down to earth. He grew up in Nottingham. His family are all Forest fans, and it's funny because I was going to do an interview with Joe a few years ago, and I think it was because of the results and stuff. It wasn't kind of going to go ahead, and Joe was trying to persuade the club to let them in, to let me interview him, which was quite funny. So Yeah, no, I still think it's crazy how it was my birthday the week and I got a birthday message off Joe Worrell and Ryan Yates. Like, that's absolutely crazy when you think about that. For example, it was my grandma's 70th birthday. She's a massive Forest fan. You know, we saw the European Cup and everything like that, and you know, was around all that time. So, and you know, so for a present, I got Joe Worrell to film a video of him, Ryan Yates, and Matty Cash.
Of course, got your Cashy in there.
All doing a birthday message, which was really nice, and everything like that. So probably my favourite Forest player at the moment, I'd probably have to say Joe Worrell or Matty Cash. I think Matty Cash has been fantastic, absolutely superb, brilliant. You know, I think Sabri Lamucci's turned him into just such a class player,
phenomenal,
absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and I just hope. I know there's been a bit of speculation this week, and I don't know why West Ham are going to get him, because West Ham are looking like they're going to come down. So I don't really know why West Ham. I don't know why we'd sell him to West Ham. I mean, it's probably a bit of a. I mean, it depends. I mean, it all depends, and it depends on the finances of the club. I mean, I hope we keep them both, and I'm pretty sure they both will probably want to stay, because Forest, their boyhood club. You know, they both kind of grew up in Nottingham and everything like that.
Yeah. Right, just cautious of time here, lads, obviously with the call running out. Max, where can people find you, and what sort of content have you got coming up with football returning?
Where can people find me? On Twitter, you can find my YouTube, Twitter, Matchday with Max, personal one, Max D. Hayes. Same on Instagram and Facebook and everything like that. And of course on YouTube, subscribing there. Content I've got coming up, probably going to try and do things like this, some Zoom post-match interviews. I'll get a panel of people on most games for Forest. So I did kind of a few episodes on lockdown with Max. That probably won't return now, because I'm focusing on kind of starting again up for now the football's returning. So probably the first piece of content that is going to come out in the next few weeks will probably be when Forest play Sheffield Wednesday. That's probably the first thing I'll do. Whether that's kind of not a watch along, probably some post-match interviews on Zoom. But thanks for having me on today, guys. I really appreciate it.
Brilliant, mate.
Yeah, big thank you, Max.
Brilliant.
Nice to speak
no
to
problem.
you, mate.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And if you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at View from the Stands, as we try to get more podcasts in during the football season returning. So thanks for that, Max.
No problem.
Thank you, lads.
Thank you.
No worries, Jordan.
And we'll see you again next week.
That concludes this week's episode. Thank you again to Max for joining us. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like this video. You can also listen to our episodes on Spotify and keep up to date with us lads on our socials. Thank you for listening.
And in comes Hurt. He's got some dribbler on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now.